This is Funny or Die TV.
Laura's helping Maxine plan her rooftop birthday party. They decide to graciously invite that one guy with only 4 teeth. Aunt Rachel offers to cater, even though Maxine can only afford to have her serve potato chips and watered-down punch. The rooftop party looks fun. They've got balloons and shit. Aunt Rachel is having a blast. When Laura and Maxine spot Willie and Waldo crashing the soiree, they ask the guys if they want to dance, but Willie holds the dudes back because they're doing something right now. What are they doing? Trying to decide what to spike the punch with. Waldo says he got them because his dad is a stewardess, which was a strong punchline in 1991 that's problematic now for a variety of reasons. Laura foolishly tells them drinking is for losers, not realizing how awesome tiny bottles of airplane liquor can be. She's ready to kick them out when Willie threatens to take the guys with him. Unwilling to part with this extremely replaceable corner of horny high school bros, Maxine tells Laura to back off. Laura proudly declares she does not need to drink to have a good time, then proceeds to have a very bad time, standing there making a face like she can smell everyone's potato chip farts even though they're standing outdoors on a windy roof. Steve Urkel arrives, impressed by the A-list guests, including that guy with 4 teeth. Willie teases Steve, who uses his superior intellect to tease right back. Willie warns Steve not to mess with him. Steve encourages the fellas to come dance with these babes, but Willie says they'd rather stand in the corner and drink rum like morons. Steve takes matters into his own hands. He asks that guy with 4 teeth to put on his song, Do the Urkel, and after teaching everyone 3 dance moves, the entire roof instantly knows an intricate and coordinated routine to this song about doing an Urkel dance that exists in the Family Matters universe for reasons that will never be explained. Willie's pissed that Steve has his own song and dance and decides to get back at him with a secretly spiked cup of punch. Steve gets absolutely sauced right away, toe up, and Laura realizes something's up because Steve is never this cool. Waldo reveals they spiked Steve's punch. Saucy Steve heads over to the ledge to do the Urkel once again, only this time he's not quite as successful and his drunk ass falls off the goddamn roof. Miraculously, Steve catches the corner of a ledge and doesn't die. Aunt Rachel springs into action and climbs down a ladder to save this wasted nerd. Aunt Rachel tightrope walks to Steve's rescue, even though she admits to never having tightrope walked before. Apparently this roof is magic, and it helps people learn complicated stuff super fast. Rachel saves Steve, who, if he knew had to be Urkel for another 7 seasons, would have probably preferred to plunge to his death. The cops arrive, and even though Willie and Waldo are in the process of getting arrested because they accidentally snitched on themselves, Laura decides to scream at them about how not cool and dangerous their behavior was. And the next day, Steve is so hungover that Carl makes him his signature hangover cure. And it works. Then instantly makes Steve shit. He just runs out the room yelling about how bad he has to take a dump. So what did we learn today? A trench coat full of tiny liquor bottles might seem like a good time, because it is. But don't get someone drunk without their consent, especially on a roof when all they've had for dinner is potato chips, because they could really endanger themselves and make a 33-year-old woman tightrope walk for the first time. And you don't need alcohol to have fun or teach all your friends a dance routine to a song that features your name. But if you mope around a party and judge people for drinking, then kick them when they're already down, you're being a real dick, and you should check that shit, Laura. And be careful, even with non-alcoholic drinks, because they might make your butt explode. See you next time on a very special episode. Mr. Turner hands back tests and announces Shawn is the only student that did poorly. He tells Shawn he's worried he has no goals or plans for college. And when Shawn blows him off, Mr. Turner says Shawn only has a handful of people in his life who care about him. Shawn says he has plenty of friends who care. His friends who care bail on this conversation to go make out. Mr. Turner urges Shawn to think about his future. Sherry, who looks like a hotter version of Shawn if he owned a comb, was eavesdropping, and tells Shawn she has 100 friends who care about her. And these 100 friends don't judge. Shawn sees nothing weird about that super weird statement and accepts Sherry's invite to get a judgment-free cup of coffee, presumably because he thinks it's code for an old-fashioned jerk job or at least some over-the-sweater hand stuff. Sherry brings Shawn to a creepy room full of strangers that say his name in unison and line up to give him hugs. She says this place is a hangout, where friends get together and talk about stuff. Sherry invites Shawn to be one of their friends. He says he could always use more friends, but isn't sure about the hugging thing. Sherry tells him Mr. Mack says a hug is a burst of pure love. Shawn says he's bursting with pure love, eyes still on the prize for that afternoon handy. Sherry says Mr. Mack is a remarkable man who changed her life. Mr. Mack walks in, hugging all these teens, and asks Sherry if she's centered. Mr. Mack gets Shawn a can of generic red cola, then says his name 3 times in a row.
Well, it just goes to show, Shawn, you can't always go with your first instinct, Shawn. You've got to give people a chance, Shawn.
Shawn looks around and finally realizes he's in the middle of a cult. He politely declines, but Mr. Mack says he's judging them, just like Shawn's teachers and family judge him. Mr. Mack asks Shawn to get to know them before making judgments. Shawn says that seems fair. And 1 hour later. I mean, they couldn't even have Shawn put on a different shirt to make it look like more time has passed. Shawn is completely brainwashed. He's hugging Corey, asking him if he's centered, and telling Corey he really likes Mr. Mack in the center. He's freaking Corey out, talking in riddles, and for the first time in their friendship, Corey asks Shawn about his spirituality. He asks Shawn what he believes in. Shawn says he doesn't have the luxury of believing in a warm house with a warm family like Corey, even though he's at that house with that family every fucking day, and says he found something new to believe in, a basement full of hugs and off-brand cola, and the heavily implied possibility that he might get J.O.'d by all 3 of these girls if he plays his cards right. Mr. Turner asks Shawn about the center, and instead of answering a single question, Shawn tells Mr. Turner he's judging. Mr. Turner asks Shawn why he feels like he needs this place. Shawn says it's because he felt incomplete. Mr. Turner tries to relate to Shawn, but Shawn glosses over it with a fake smile and hug that Mr. Turner promptly shuts down. He tells Shawn the center is filled with lost souls and a clearly predatory creep and urges Shawn not to let this place take away who he really is. Shawn says he doesn't know who he really is, which checks out because it only took a can of soda and hearing his name 3 times to get balls deep in the brainwash sauce. Corey and Eric attempt to infiltrate the center to get Shawn back. Eric says you'd have to be a weak-minded fool to fall for this place, then instantly falls for the place when a girl in a vest gives him a hug. Shawn asks Corey what he's doing and tells him to scram because Corey has something to believe in and Shawn doesn't. Corey warns Shawn that once Mr. Mack gets a hold of his mind, he will have it for life. Mr. Mack says Corey is overreacting and this place isn't so bad, then hits the lights and does a weird fake award ceremony to welcome their new lifetime member, Shawn. Corey snitches on Shawn, and his parents decide they're going to go get him. But before they can leave, Shawn shows up with Eric. He had to drag Eric out of there because Mr. Mack thought Eric was only in it for the hugs, since you can't say handjobs Friday nights at 8:30 on ABC. Shawn says he's going back because he's happy and totally centered. They all try to talk sense into him, saying they love him and the center is cuckoo banana bread cray-cray. And they're fine with him searching for something to believe in, but this Mr. Mack guy is bad news. Corey's dad asks Shawn what he used to believe in before this place, yesterday. And Shawn says he doesn't know. So Corey's dad follows up with this question that's a totally normal thing to ask your son's best friend.
Did you believe in God?
You can literally hear the crickets. Feeney returns to say Mr. Turner has been centered in the middle of the goddamn street because he crashed his motorcycle. The gang is waiting at the hospital when Shawn arrives with his turtleneck dickhole. Shawn says he couldn't face this alone, ignoring that this family he's known his whole life is right there with him. Mr. Mack antagonizes Feeney and Corey's parents, to the point where Corey's dad says he would kill to protect Shawn. Feeney says Mr. Mack can't have Shawn, and Mr. Mack says that's up to Shawn, and even if Shawn says no, there are many more just like him. But Shawn didn't hear that horrific human trafficking comment, because he's already in Mr. Turner's hospital room. Shawn is freaking out and says he needs Mr. Mack. Corey stops him and gives him a hug, a real hug, not like those knockoff bootleg hugs Shawn's been handing out left and right like he took ecstasy at Bonnaroo. They leave Shawn with Mr. Turner, and Shawn has a complete breakdown. Shawn pleads with Mr. Turner to hang in there, then looks at this machine like he has any idea what the fuck it means. He finally appreciates Mr. Turner and the handful of people who care about him, then calls out to God, because now he also believes in God. He starts talking to God in the hospital room and says Mr. Turner can't be done yelling at him yet. Then Mr. Turner squeezes his hand because apparently he's got a whole lot more yelling to do. Only he doesn't, because we never see Mr. Turner ever again for the rest of Boy Meets World, because he probably fucking killed himself. So what did we learn today? If a hot girl wants to buy you a cup of coffee, chances are she's trying to get you to join her cult. But if it only takes a can of soda and hearing your name 3 times to get brainwashed, you're dumb as rocks and deserve whatever happens to you. And appreciate the people who care about you, because they're only going to try to connect with you and infiltrate cults for you and threaten to murder for you for so long. And if you feel incomplete in this confusing life, arbitrarily fill that hole with a hasty belief in God after someone you care about gets in a motorcycle accident. An accident that probably happened because they were so stressed out thinking about how you're fucking up your life. And the most important lesson? You can always give yourself a handjob and avoid a mess like this entirely. See you next time on a very special episode.
Wait, there's no paint on this brush. It's a Funny or Die movie takeover. This is Funny or Die TV.
And now, the long-haired businessman.
Now, it says here that you served a tour in Iraq.
Yes, sir. It's interesting you bring up the service because I did sign up for the reserve, but there was an issue where I took the test. It said that I was blind, so I decided, you know what? Just sort of let sleeping dogs lie. They did want me, though.
Now, see, I fought for the other side.
Huh.
Will's going camping with Carlton and Uncle Phil. He asks why they're packing so much heavy stuff, like this dumb box that Carlton claims to contain an inflatable raft. Will thinks Carlton is bullshitting about the raft. Turns out Carlton was not bullshitting, and the raft breaks Carlton's bug-zapping lamp. Will hits an ATM to pay Carlton back for the lamp when a mugger holds them both up at gunpoint. They hand over the cash, but an ever-helpful Carlton announces he has some more money in his pocket for their new friend. Only when he reaches for the loot, the thief gets skittish. Will tries to protect Carlton and takes a bullet in the process. The family's in the hospital, trying to make sense of this tragedy. Carlton has a rare form of survivor guilt that transforms you into Mr. Mopey Pants. Will's mom shows up from the airport, in tears that Will became a victim of gun violence in Bel Air, when he could have just stayed in Philadelphia and got his ass beat on a basketball court. Will wakes up in good spirits, joking and smiling, and announces he'll be doing his banking by mail from now on, because the internet in 1995 was still some shit you paid AOL for by the hour. Will goofs with Jeffrey. Then Will goofs with Ashley. Everyone's having a great time hospital goofing, except for Carlton, who is mayor of Mope City, population uno. Carlton scolds the goof troop and says this episode that should have been about camping is now serious business. Will says you have to laugh because this kind of stuff happens all the time, even though it certainly does not when you live 6 minutes from the Beverly Hills hamburger hamlet. Carlton sulks off in a real pissy mood for a guy who wasn't shot that day. Uncle Phil tries to stop him and they start yelling at each other past midnight in a hospital about whether or not the US legal system works, which is neither the time nor place to have that conversation. Uncle Phil suspects Carlton might be leaving to engage in vigilante justice and tells him he can't go out on the street busting heads. Carlton says he's all grown up, which is a poor choice of words since Will's done nothing but make fun of his height for 5 seasons, and now he's on his way to go play Batman in the Cedars-Sinai parking lot. Uncle Phil says Carlton went out to blow off steam and he'll be fine. Everybody leaves Will alone with Lisa. Will asks Lisa if she's heard the joke about the black dude who got shot at the ATM and is trying to get freaky with his girl in a hospital room. Lisa tells Will to stop trying to entertain, and Will finally gets serious. Seriously bummed he's not about to get freaky in this hospital room. Carlton returns the next day, still upset that his jacket is yellow, and says he is forever in Will's debt. Carlton adds him and Uncle Phil aren't seeing eye to eye right now, because this incident has sent him into a full tailspin where he thinks everything Uncle Phil has ever told him is a lie. Carlton spent his whole life believing in law and order, but now that he's learned about guns and robbers, the rules have changed. Carlton tells the guy who was shot that he's sick of being a victim and is going to start making his own rules. Will wants a hug, presumably to get Carlton to stop nannering. And when Carlton goes in for the real thing, Will feels a gun. Will asks Carlton what he's going to do with the gun. Carlton says he keeps that motherfucking thing on him for protection. Then Carlton flips Will's breakfast in the air in a passionate fit of rage, depriving his injured relative of vital foods and liquids for his recovery. Will says he understands that Carlton is scared and angry, but he needs to find a way to deal with it that doesn't involve firearms or throwing scrambled eggs in the air. Will demands Carlton give him the gun because he saved his life, and Carlton owes him. Carlton hands over the heater, and Will breaks down in tears that he doesn't have any breakfast. So what did we learn today? If someone tells you there's a raft in that box, just take their word for it, because there's probably a raft in that box. And if you need to see the raft for yourself, you might break a bug-zapping lamp, which means getting cash in the middle of the night, and that means getting mugged. And if you are getting mugged, don't make any sudden movements that get your cousin shot. And if you do get your cousin shot, don't sulk around the hospital and make your family feel bad, and have a sudden falling out with your dad who loves you, and buy a gun in the middle of the night, and flip your wounded cousin's breakfast over in a temper tantrum. Because when someone takes a bullet for you, that should be the last time they ever have to deal with your bullshit for the rest of their life. See you next time on a very special episode.
You're watching Funny or Die TV.
Kimmy invites DJ to a pool party to celebrate her 14th birthday. DJ's concerned because, unlike Kimmy, she's insecure about her body and won't feel comfortable in a bathing suit until she looks like this insane picture on the cover of a made-up magazine. DJ says she only has 2 weeks to get skinny, and the diet starts now by throwing these cookies away. She asks Kimmy how she stays so thin, and Kimmy demonstrates it's a casual mix of waist bends and watching what she eats. DJ's taping half-naked models to the family fridge when Becky comes home. She says looking at these models is thinspiration to stay out of the fridge. Aunt Becky tries to tell her about healthy food she can still enjoy. DJ says she's not trying to think about any food at all. Becky says what really matters is keeping junk food out of the house. Uncle Jesse shows up with a huge box of cake. DJ is not fazed by the cake and announces she's going to enjoy this delicious and savory water pop she made herself. Jesse's doing wedding research and got enough cake samples to murder a diabetic pothead. They invite DJ to join the frosted feast, but she says she's fine sucking this ice cube on a stick that even kids in third world countries might see and say, yeah, no. Michelle goes ham on that cake. DJ's frustrated she only lost half a pound in 2 days. Jesse says all she needs to do to lose weight is work out, and they can all go to the gym and work out as a big family this weekend because that's a normal thing families do all the time. Danny makes DJ a sandwich and tells her to eat up because they're about to hit the gym. DJ says she's skipping lunch and asks Kimmy if she wants the sandwich. Kimmy says it's a ham sandwich, again, and she's been eating her lunch for 3 straight days and doesn't want another ham Sammy. Stephanie overhears the Sammy talk and adds DJ's also been skipping breakfast and dinner for for 3 days straight and doesn't understand how she's still alive on account of you need to eat things not to die. DJ promises to eat her sandwich, then promptly feeds that crap to the dog. DJ says Comet is lucky because dogs don't have to wear bathing suits. Stephanie makes this face because she realizes her sister is a dummy. Stephanie busts DJ for lying about the sandwich, and DJ lies again, saying Comet snatched it from her. Steph busts her for lying a second time about the snatching. And when DJ says she wasn't lying those last 2 times, Steph busts her for lying a third time about the lies, which honestly feels a little nitpicky. DJ tells Steph she has 1 week to look good in a bathing suit, and after that week, she'll resume eating. But in that time, when DJ will certainly die from not eating, Steph has to pinky swear she won't tell anyone about her plan to starve to death. Steph reluctantly pinky swears to keep this slow suicide a secret. The fam goes to the gym, featuring a plethora of oiled up muscleheads and women with thin strips of neon fabric wedged up their assholes. DJ wants to know the best way to burn calories, those things she hasn't had in days. Danny points her to a bike and tells her to start slow at level 1. DJ does not have time for that level 1 nonsense and takes that shit straight to level 70 goddamn 5 what you know about it. The guys go with Michelle for a cute B storyline. It's Michelle doing cute workout stuff in cute workout clothes. It's a real cute palate cleanser from the harsh reality that a 14-year-old they bailed on is about to drop dead upstairs. Meanwhile, DJ hits a new machine like she's dying of cancer and this thing has the cure. Becky tells the guys to join her in aerobics class. They say no way because it's 1990 and aerobics? Until they see some of those women with fabric in their booty cracks and decide they'll give this aerobics thing a fair shake, ignoring DJ in the corner about to have a goddamn heart attack. Aerobics class is whatever. Who cares? The guys just post in the back and look at butt cheeks. The aerobics teacher moves these perverts to the front and they start flailing around because they're out of shape. It's hilarious if you have no sense of humor. Stephanie says DJ has to see this very bland spectacle. DJ says she'll be right there and falls down faster than a folding chair in a hurricane. She says she's okay and just got a little dizzy because she overdid it. It meaning everything except eating anything. Stephanie is sad her sister's about to die. DJ comes down saying she's well rested and nobody's buying it. Joey said he made chicken parm and invites her to taste the sauce. DJ says she can't taste the sauce because she just brushed her teeth, even though she definitely didn't, because toothpaste would borderline count as food. DJ starts yelling because she's hangry and says she's going to dinner at Kimmy's. Stephanie stops her because she realizes a pinky swear isn't legally binding. She reveals DJ hasn't eaten in 3 days. Her family warns her that what she's doing is dangerous because she's riding a bus with no brakes to Crankyville that will ultimately drop her off with her dead mom in hell. Danny runs after DJ to console her with a boring story about how he had body issues when he was young because he's tall as shit and lanky as hell. But it doesn't matter because your real friends will like you no matter what. At least at this age, before they start picking friends based on things like who has a car, who has drugs, and who you'd like to maybe eventually sleep with. Danny makes DJ promise she's going to eat healthy and exercise. Then he takes her hungry ass downstairs. So what did we learn today? Food isn't just some shit that's stopping your fridge from floating away. You actually need to eat it in order to survive. And if you don't eat food for several consecutive days, you're going to majorly fuck your shit up and maybe die. But if you know people around you are watching their weight, don't eat cookies out of the trash in front of them, or taunt them with a cake buffet, or drag them to a gym full of impossibly fit extras, when all they really need is a gentle reminder that everyone's miserable all the time. And the only thing you can ever do about it is shove chicken parm in your mouth with people you care about. And if you see your deliriously hungry sister talking to dogs about bathing suits, don't wait until the brink of death to save her life, because her designated guardians will be too busy looking at butt cheeks to realize something's horribly wrong. See you next time on a very special episode.
Keep watching for more Yelling Men on Funny or Die TV!
And now, the Divorced Dad's Cooking Show.
No knives? No worries. I got my scissors. Now, I got these when I had to open up my moving boxes after the divorce. Look how easily that just slices. That's some beautiful... You know what? Hold on just a second. I'll be right back. I have no use for these anymore because I don't really have a lawn. Gail got that. Gail.
TJ wants $55 for a computer game called Starship Doctor. His dad says no dice. Meanwhile, Marcus and Mo went splitsies on a piece of shit card that set them back a cool $600. Karen tells TJ about a kid named Marky412 she's been talking to in a chat room who's selling bootleg copies of Starship Doctor for $20. TJ has some concerns that this is illegal and therefore something that could get him in trouble, which he quickly overlooks the second Karen calls him a wuss. TJ messages Marky412 and finds out that not only is Starship Doctor still available, he also has some more illegal games. Eager to purchase all these bootleg titles, TJ says they'll meet him this afternoon, then hatches a quick plan to fleece those two bozos with car troubles outside. He offers to repair the car for $65. $200, then somehow fixes the engine with a paperclip, then takes off with those suckers' money. TJ and Karen show up in dorky matching hats, looking for the kid they were talking to in the chat room. Only a kid doesn't show up. It turns out Marky412 is a fully grown dude. And when TJ and Karen are like, hey man, what the shit, we thought you were 12. Marky412 says he was only in the kid's chat room because he likes games. And the only other people on Earth who like games are kids. And that airtight logic is all these two idiots need to sit down with this pedophile. They do the deal in a very inconspicuous fashion. Seasoned pros. Marky says enjoy, but definitely do not tell your dad. Because hey dum-dum, illegal stuff makes dads pissed. TJ instantly shows his dad all the cool new games he bought. And when his dad's like, hey man, what the shit, I thought you only robbed your brother for $65. TJ covers by saying he only bought one game and the rest are Karen's. Very smooth. Marky412 IMs to ask how they like the games. TJ says they're super sweet, and Marky412 says he has 2 new games, including Clowns of War, and they're even sweeter. Only Marky can't leave the house because he's too busy working on a new game. So if they want Clowns of War, they better book it over to his house. TJ scams some more car money, then rides off into the sunset of his innocence. Marky412 welcomes his young guest to a very unsettling basement, featuring 2 computers and a surfboard on a blue screen that's the new game he's been working on. Marky412 starts explaining his Surf City game, and TJ is enthralled. Marky says he uses that super nifty basement cam over there to put your image right in the game, and they can be the very first to try it. TJ and Karen take turns on this absolutely terrible game where you stand on a surfboard and do nothing as stock footage of waves crashing plays behind you. It might be the worst game of all time if you can even call it a game at all. They say the game rocks because they're dumb, but Mikey412 says something's wrong. See, they're surfing in warm clothes and it looks weird. They should be wearing bathing suits. TJ quips that bathing suits might be winter wear in Hawaii, but not in DC, which stands for darn cold, which is music to a pedophile's ears since only dumb little kids say darn. Marky says underwear is basically the same as a bathing suit, and yeah, you know, maybe they should just get in their underwear and hop on that surfboard. TJ and Karen say no thanks, and Marky breaks out a book of his other basement friends, and flips to a girl named Melissa, who used to be nervous, but after a while started surfing with her shirt off. TJ seems to have no objection to the fact that he's looking at child porn, and instead is like, hey man, what the shit, I thought you said we were the first ones to play this game. Marky covers, saying they're the first to play this version, and this smart guy finally realizes, holy fuck, we're in a pedophile's basement. The worst kind of basement to be in. TJ drags Karen out of there, because she's about to wind up on a page stuck to Melissa's, and Marky412 reminds them do not tell their parents. So TJ immediately tells his dad, who calls the cops, who then say this guy is on parole for a similar crime, and he's going back to jail thanks to TJ's heroic illegal computer games. TJ talks with his dad and says he's done with the internet and he's gonna throw his modem away. His dad is like, hey man, what the shit, there's some pretty cool stuff on there, and also I look at boobs when you're at school. TJ asks how can you know who's good and who's not online, and his dad says you can't, even though you definitely can when it's a grown man who lures you to his basement with video games. So what did we learn today? If an adult man who calls himself Marky and hangs out in kids' chat rooms can trick you into riding your bike to his basement with the worst video game ever made, you might not be such a smart guy after all. And if you need $55 to buy a new game, you can make that money and then some by fixing your brother's broken car with a paperclip. But don't get greedy and use that money to buy 3 bootleg games, then try to buy 2 more bootleg games in the same afternoon before you've even played those first 3 games, because you might wind up in Marky412's book of memories. And if you meet a pedophile in a chat room, tell the cops, so they can send him to prison where his ass will get filled with street justice. And don't let this experience turn you off to the internet as a whole, because there's some pretty cool stuff online, and your dad looks at boobs while you're at school. See you next time on a very special episode.